Hello and welcome to the first module of English 102. I'm going to be making these videos for each of the modules that we have in the course to be able to help you along the way as you work through this online course. So I want to start at the beginning of some of the things that I want students to make sure they're paying attention to so you can be successful in the course. Of course, one of the things in any course that you take here at GMC is looking at the syllabus. Of course, it's important to begin to look at it at the very beginning of the course, but also to refer to it throughout the course anytime that you have questions about assignments, due dates, any kind of information that you would need to move forward in the course. Almost all of it is here, including I want to point out a few things because I know you're going to be reading this in detail, but I want to point out a few things about the assignments. Because this is a 2.0 course, that means there are not the weekly deadlines. However, everything is still balanced into 8 different modules. So I wanted to kind of just spend a moment looking at these in this video to make you aware of all the different assignments that you're going to do through the different modules. So here are all of the different types of assignments that you're going to be doing. The Think and Eat, which kind of replaces if you have taken the previous type of online courses that we had. I call them 1.0. Those had the weekly deadlines, and those also had the discussion forums. So those are very similar to the discussion forums, but there are no replies or anything from other classmates or from me. Those are just still you critically thinking about the material each week. So Think and Eat, and those are weighted at 15%. You have the skill building activities, and both of these categories, the lowest grade is dropped from each of these. So if there's one that you didn't do particularly well in, that grade will be dropped. There are 2 quizzes, 2 exams, 2 response papers, 2 research preparation assignments, getting ready for that research paper, and then of course the research paper itself. So that's kind of the breakdown. And I want you to pay in particular attention to these last couple of assignments, the getting ready for the research paper, and then, part of that exam. That's quite a bit of percentage of your final grade. So those assignments, you want to take care and making sure that you're doing their very best. Of course, you want to do that in every assignment that you have, but I just want to point that out, that the research paper is 20% of your grade. So here's the grade information, and then here are the different ethics requirements, expectations. So I don't want to go through all of this with you because I know that you're going to be reading it, but I want to make sure that these are the highlights. And then also this is kind of the breakdown of what each module contains. It contains what the overview is, what the learning objectives are, the different readings that's associated with it as far as the literature readings. Each module has supportive reading as well, and then the activities and assignments that go with it. So each module has at least 2 to 3 graded activities for each week, and then that's going through all of those. Okay. So I want to point out a couple of other things as well. Before we even get started with module 1, you want to make sure that you've looked at this beginning information. Of course, here's module 1. We're going to get into that in just a minute. But all of these things at the very beginning of the course, I kind of call it the top of the course because of how it scrolls. But you want to make sure that you're going through all of these getting started readings. And those are for you to be successful in this course and with any other course that you're taking here at GMC. We want you to be successful, so we provide these resources to support that. This specifically talks about our course, but a lot of these other ones are just in general of how to be a successful student, how to be a successful online student, and of course the guidelines and rules and regulations of being a student here at GMC. So all of these are a must read for students, and you want to be familiar with those. And anytime that you have questions, you can come back to them. They're just going to be pinned at the top of our course. And we have a whole additional section of class resources. So this gives you a little bit of overview about the class. All of the texts that we are reading, as far as the literature texts, aren't all in here, just kind of like a nice neat package. Sometimes students like to have everything ahead at the beginning of the course, so you can print all of those out if you wish. Frequently asked questions, over the years, we've learned that there are certain things that students have questions on more than others. So here's another place for you to look at. There's also information about specifically about reading literature. I know that some students have a little bit of anxiety when they see that they have to take an English course, and all of the things that kind of goes with that, reading and writing. And but that kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be looking at during this course. These are things that you definitely are going to be coming back to. The MLA formatting and citation, that is the writing style that we use in English. You may be familiar with MLA, and you may be familiar with another common writing style and the university level, and that is APA. They're very similar, but they're also different. So you want to make sure that you're using the guidelines here for this class, and that is linked right there. This is a particularly important one, AI in the literature classroom. I want you to pay particular attention to this because as and I know AI is everywhere, and it does, provide information. It provides support, in particular with writing, but you cannot use AI to generate your essay. Number one, I will be able to tell because AI uses certain patterns and words that aren't typical of a college student taking English 102. So please be aware of that, and that is considered academic dishonesty. So I don't want you to fall into the trap of using that and not using your own brain and your own words. We will be using the library quite a bit, and what's nice about our library here is that first of all, you can use it at home, sitting in your pajamas. You're not required to go into any library. It is virtual, just like this class. We have a wonderful library here at GMC, and we also have a wonderful librarian. So you want to, in this course, because that's one of the purposes of this course, is looking critically at the resources that are available. We're going to be focusing on literature, but you're going to be able to use the library in any course that you take here at GMC, whether it's biology, any kind of mathematics, any kind of other humanities. You want to be able to become familiar with that. The GMC library subscribes to academic journals that you cannot get through a Google search. Even you cannot get it through Google Scholar. I know a lot of students think that that's kind of an easy way to do it. The GMC library is not difficult to navigate. If you can Google for resources, you can use the GMC library. So as an academic student, you want to go beyond Google, because that's just something that we do in our everyday life. You want to be able to learn the GMC library. And then there's some other resources here for our course and some of the things that we're going to be using. So let's get into module 1. We're going to be, kind of starting at the very beginning. I know most of you have probably had literature classes, probably back in high school, maybe at the college level. But one of the focuses is kind of starting at the beginning. And one of that is using a common language. So we're starting with the basic literary terms. So that's going to be the common language that we use as you're writing about the stories that you're reading, though that is the language that I want you to use. You're going to be using these literary terms throughout the rest of this course. So that's kind of why we start at the very beginning. And then you're going to keep building on that. Each module, we start building on this knowledge. And this is similar to what you would do, let's say, if you were in a biology class. You're going to learn the basic biology terms. It depends on what part of biology you're studying, but you're always going to start with those basic terms. So you're always on the same conversation level with everybody else in that academic arena. Okay, so we start off with a couple of short stories. And one of the reasons that we use short stories as opposed to like a novel or longer works than that, because you're going to want to read them more than once. These are very high interest short stories. I have a lot of students who talk about that they really enjoyed the literature pieces that we have. There's a little bit of something for everybody, but again, they are short enough that you can read multiple times throughout the week and throughout the course as you get deeper and deeper into the research. Okay, so our different assignments for and to go back to what we were reading, A Story of an Hour and The Lottery. In particular, you may have already read The Lottery, and if not, it is pretty interesting. So I love to get students' reaction and within their writing about these two stories, because they're written in a certain way that gives you a little bit of a surprise ending for both of them. So as you are thinking and reading about these stories, you're going to be, using the terms that we start talking about this week. So you want to, read through those stories before you get to this think and ink section. And you want to make sure that you're looking at the different options that are available. You're only going to choose one. And again, this is going to be in your own words. It may be tempting to use AI, and AI can generate something for you, but it's going to be noticeable because it's always going to have that lack of personality. It's going to have that lack of voice, and AI will just kind of insert things whether it's true or not. So that's what ends up getting students in trouble. All of those things come clear. So you're going to choose one of these options, and just remember that we're looking for about 250 words in length. So almost about one page. And you want to put your best work forward. So you're going to want to review what you've written, make sure that it makes sense to what the different writing prompts are. It's going to be an MLA formatting, but this is more of it's not so much of a formal piece as it is, responding to what we've read, and in terms of what the prompts are asking. So again, if you remember that I said that these kind of replaced what was previously in a discussion forum. So it is, as if we are kind of together and we're kind of thinking about these stories that we're reading each week. Just as a reminder, everything that you are going to use is in this course or in the GMC library. So you do not need to use Google. You do not need to go to a physical library. And for this first one, this is really more of your response. So anything should come from the text itself. And you want to make sure that you are using the version in the course, which let me see if I can, where we can get to that quickly. So the version in the course has the MLA citation that you need within the course, within this document. Okay, it's going to be at the very bottom. So this is going to be the citation that you would use in any of the assignments that we have. So please don't just Google the story of an hour and use any of the online versions, because we all want to be on the same version. We're all in the same conversation. Okay, so that's the Think and Ink. And then the second assignment that you have is taking a short quiz. It's not for a grade, but it's just trying to gauge where you are in MLA documentation and literary terminology. So this is one of those skill building activities similar to the Think and Ink. The lowest grade is dropped. And so you want to make sure that you have read through all of the assignments in Module 1. I'm going to go back to that. Module 1. Each module will have the overview. It'll have a video, me talking, the preparatory resources that you need. You want to make sure that you're reading those. Some of them are websites. Go through the required text reading before you get to these assignments. All right. So make sure that you are reading through everything that's in each module. Please reach out to me by email. I'm happy to support you in any way. And good luck in this first module.